Since the news announcing the fact that Michael Oliseh's deal has fallen through and he won't be signing for us, we have yet again some massive transfer reports to get through today, my friends. So I hope you guys enjoy today's video. Show us some love. Hit that like button. I'm in Italy for the next few days. I'll be back properly on Tuesday, so it's going to be normal service from then on. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hit that like button. And let's get straight into things. Now, I guess we start things with some positive news because finally, after months and months of stories and reports, after years and years of scouting, we have finally captured the next great talent from Brazil. As it's official now, Estevao William has become a Chelsea player and he is set to officially join us from 2025 after the Club World Cup. Now, it's been confirmed by the club as well too, so it doesn't get more official than that. And we actually rate Estevao William as a greater talent than Endrick. So there's some big claims already, but it does feel like Estevao William should be able to easily maintain the expectations and hype around him, because I kind of feel like in Brazil, it's a country where when you're the next great talent, when you're the next one on the list, you've been kind of born and bred for this role. So the starlight, the spotlights, the speculation, all this talk is nothing new for a player that's been used to this type of talk around his name now since he was a young kid. So I think he's ready for the next stage. I think it's a massive coup that we're able to sign one of the premium generational talents, you know, which is something we don't typically tend to do. And in terms of the structuring of this deal, as we know, we're paying 34 million upfront with the further 23 million in add-ons, which will be broken down into long-term and short-term add-ons. So we wait and see, but I think with the announcement that Oliseh now won't be signing for us, as he is set to go to Bayern Munich for pretty ridiculous fees, to be honest with you, I think this is the perfect godsend for Estevao William, who should probably get even more minutes from next season. And it could be a similar situation in which we saw Vinicius Jr. benefiting from the non-stop injuries that Eden Hazard was maintaining. Now, do I still think that Vinny could have still developed as Hazard was the first things down the left flank? I think so, because he was very raw for his first 3 years. But then equally, having 3 years of consistent football probably accelerated his development to become the great player he is right now. And I would not be surprised that Estevao William has a similar trajectory to, you know, starting life with our club now. So we wait and see. But I think personally, this is an even better move for Estevao and his family, because they are pocketing 30% of this total transfer. So he's become even more of a multi-millionaire overnight, and he's not even turned 18 years old yet. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm impressed by this news. And, you know, I wanna say this, we've secured some phenomenal talents, you know, Enzo, Caicedo, Estevao William, Gusto, and Kunku Cole Palmer. There has been a lot of goods that this new ownership has done. I'll share more opinions later on in this video, but I want to give that perspective because, you know what, I think I'm quite balanced with my assessment on the current ownership, and deals like this, I am fully here for and I fully support. So my friends, share your thoughts and opinions. Are you excited about Estevao William? Let us know below. And now let's discuss one of the big developing stories, as now we are set to sign one of Aston Villa's premium talents in Omari Kellyman. At the moment, Ian Maatsen now is set to sign for Aston Villa. Aston Villa now are seemingly closer to agreeing personal terms with Ian Maatsen, and at the moment his medical will be broken down into two parts. One at the Euros currently, and the rest done once the Euros is over. Aston Villa are set to offer the player a 6-year deal, and it seems like Ian will sign for them because they have Champions League football, and as I was saying in the last video, tactically he will be able to play with full attacking freedom under Unai Emery. So at the moment, this could be a smart move for his career before potentially makes that step up to a bigger club. But in the moment, as we knew, this deal was always going to be fully dependent on the fact that a player exchange is involved. And it seems like after like weeks and weeks, John Duran will not be that player involved in a player exchange because he costs too much money. Aston Villa want too much, and I think the wage demands of John Duran and his team might be a bit too high. So in the meantime, no surprise, we were going to turn our attentions maybe signing one of their star academy players, and it's been revealed we've turned our attentions to PL2 star and Omari Kellyman. He is set to sign for us for £19 million, which is an absolute crazy amount of money. He'll sign a 6-year deal. And he's only kind of played like 50 minutes of professional football. Now, I have to say this straight to keep things real, because we have to be honest. This is purely an accounting move, so we can register profits before the 30th of June. This benefits both Aston Villa and it benefits us. We know how we've used our academy to help, register profits so we can spend on players. Aston Villa have done the same thing. I mean, in the space of how many years they've sold Khans, they've close to selling Estevao Willian, and I know I'm getting this brother's name wrong, guys like Archer, guys like Ramsey, now Kellyman. They're recording pure profits of nearly £90 million for the sale of like all their academy talents. And it's kind of crazy that a club like Aston Villa that have talents like this aren't even utilising them, but will instead now sign a Ross Barkley for £5 million instead of using talents like this for free that they own that have maybe bigger and better potential. But I have to say this, I feel like sometimes this game has just become a game for the accountants. It's become purely a financial game. And I don't know, man, I just feel like the principle and essence of this game is kind of gets bastardized a little bit. And the game's become so unnecessarily financially focused due to the obscene amounts of spending we're seeing 24/7 now. I mean, let's keep things real. Villa register a pure accounting profit by selling Kellyman for 90 million. Re-register a pure accounting profit by selling Ian Maatsen for £37.5 million. Both clubs are able then to spread the transfers of the players they're about to receive in installments over time, which works out on their books, right? And it kind of makes a mockery of all these silly rules like profit and sustainability, FFP, when essentially now the game is run by accountants who will use their expertise and business practices to constantly find loopholes around rules like this. And this new current loophole is that what? Academy players now, if they go for big money, this is a pure accounting profit, which can allow you, of course, to structure deals over time where if you're bringing in 20 million for an academy player, that could allow you to buy like 3 or 4 or 5 players for around like 40 million each, based on their player costs adding up to a total fee of around 20 million. It's kind of nuts, right? All of these types of deals are short-term fixes. We're yet to see how things will play out in the long term. If Aston Villa don't get Champions League football, which realistically possibly will happen if we finally get ourselves a Champions League spot, they'll probably pay the price for selling all their top young guys for nothing. And they've just got a lot of experienced players who have kind of peaked already. And of course, haven't been able to maintain securing European football. Time will tell. I guess you guys want to know for myself, okay, Nini, that's all good, blah, blah, blah. But who the hell is Omari Kellyman? Like, don't you see in the vision? We're signing young talents. They're going to be ready for the future. That's what we're doing now. We're not going to spend big money giving big wages to top players like Odyssey, but we can sign the next great Odyssey as a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, and then develop him to be ready in 4 years' time, because football is just that simple and always works out how you imagine it to, right? But anyway, let's discuss this game, because his game has nothing to do with the principle and context around his move, right? And essentially, Aston Villa signed him very recently from Derby County for around £600,000, because that was when Derby were under administration. So a lot of clubs took advantage of signing top players from Derby's academy for next to nothing. But in terms of how he plays, he's more like a 10, but again, the typical modern attacking player. He can play on either flank, he can play as a second striker, and he can play up front as well, so because it helps the fact that this guy physically is very imposing as a 19-year-old, 6'2", still growing. And he made his debut for Aston Villa against Hibernian in the Conference League, where he got an assist on his debut. Now, I'm sure he's hoping to do the same thing, picking up minutes in our Conference League campaign next season, where you're thinking, okay, with the demands of matching Prem duties and European duties, hopefully we are turning towards the young guys to get majority game time in these early opening group stage games. But in terms of his style, you know what? I've been watching a lot of clips throughout, of course, during my time in Italy. And I have to say, his languid type of style reminds me a lot of a Kai Havertz when he was young. Not bulky Kai Havertz now, who doesn't have any turning circles or radius anymore, but like a young type of frail, wispy Kai Havertz. Because, I like players with the languid style. I like when they bring their personality in terms of how they play, because, when I watch Kellyman, he has this like precision. Like there's this purposefulness behind his play, right? Like he won't just wildly just blast the ball. It's like he's already determined, listen, I'm going to place it top bins. And I'm going to make it a bit effortless because I've already known in advance what my next move is about to be. Having the threat aerially helps, which is a surprise thing about his game. I think that's why he has been used as a second striker. And he could really develop with that type of physicality, you know, his comfortable ability to play in like pockets and tight spaces, his ability to dribble with 2 feet as well too. And I think his good understanding of how to like, you know, get inside the box, you know, play outside the box, how to link up to, you know, he's a good player with good potential to work with. Doesn't necessarily mean that right now he'll be challenging for first team minutes. Who knows? Personally, I'm going to be very surprised, but can he at least come off the bench maybe? Is that how he'll start his career with us? Time will tell. But again, I can't complain individually. These kids have talent. But I just think the principle and reality of how development works is, you know, it's just impossible to afford the right amount of minutes and game time for these guys to properly develop. Because I'm sorry, most players that go on to that next level had been at clubs where they've been playing key consecutive minutes for like 1, 2, 3 seasons. So by the time they're like 21 years old, they normally have at least 100 appearances professionally or close to that number. It's impossible for us, with all the talents we have, with more talents coming in next year, and your Kendrick Piers, Estevao Williams, that will determine and get more minutes based on their talent and what they're doing right now, to think that your Kellymans, maybe even guys like your Khans, your Casades, your Washingtons, your Angelos, all these other players are going to get enough minutes that's going to satisfy their development. It won't happen. And this is where I just see this model just not making as much sense at times now. You know, mad to think that we've signed Aston Villa's best 2 talents for close to 40 million, but it's even madder to think that we have maybe even better talents coming in right now with our eyes on even more talents that will probably jeopardize the amount of minutes guys like this will get, even though we spent big money. So how is the future going to pan out? Are we going to flip these guys for big money in the future? Probably not. I think a lot's in the air. And it always goes back to this thing of, listen, I'm not stupid where I'm going to just like blindly criticize the club because one Oliseh deal doesn't go through and all these guys are idiots. No, but my criticism's always been, you rush too many things all at once. Pattern the first team first. At least make sure that we're able to compete, secure that European football. Because if we had Champions League football, our business is completely different. We're not then worrying about finances for an Oliseh, for God's sake. So this is how you pay the long-term costs and penalties for short-term planning and thinking. And I just think that it's just so aggressive at times. And I'm just not seeing the long-term play based on the abundance of talent we're holding. And more talents we're hoping to buy for a club network that's not even taking off right now. It's just not adding up. And I just think that it was too much done all at once. And when I look at us missing out on players that we've spent months and months having conversations with, Oliseh, Osimhen, that money wasn't spent on your Casades and your Khans and all these other players that most likely won't get the minutes they need. You have like another 100 to 200 million to play with that helps the first team, right? Because every single year, there's going to be talents on the market that you can sign. So I don't know why we were so desperate to sign talents immediately when our whole model is still at a very early infant stage. But I don't know, time will tell if this shit's going to work out, honestly. But you guys share your thoughts and opinions on this one. Do you see the vision? Do you have hope? Are you confused? Please, and might be rude, but good takes only. Please, good takes only. You've watched my videos enough times to know that I'm not stupid with the ownership. So if you have something good to say, please keep it intelligent, yeah? And my friends, for the final big story, it seems like we are still figuring out who we're set to sign up front, because Enzo Maresca still wants the forwards, and we have no idea who that's forward set to be, from your Osimhens to your Seshkos to your Durants to your Alvarez's, to a million options that have fallen through right now. It seems like we are now holding conversations for our 6th, 7th and 8th choice options now, and big reports coming from The Athletic and reliable reports in Germany and France suggest that Jonathan David is a player we are having conversations currently with his reps. Now, if you guys have been watching my channel for a long time, Jonathan David is a name that we're pretty familiar with, so I'm not going to waste time discussing his game. You know, like watch my older videos on that matter. But at the moment, Jonathan's contract expires in 1 year's time, which means that he comes at a very affordable price and fee. He's a reliable gunman in Ligue 1, like 83 goals and like 180 83 games, of course. He's regularly getting 15 plus goals a season. He started last season slow because I'm sure he's pretty disappointed about the fact that he never got a move, but he ended last season on fire, getting 19 goals in the end, with most of those goals coming second half of the season. And he scored goals that helped Lille lift Ligue 1 as well. So he's at an age right now where he's probably ready for the next stage. Atletico Madrid and other clubs like Milan are also paying attention, so it's not necessarily straightforward. But we have to remember, reports suggest that we are only holding conversations with his reps to understand where his head's at, understand his prices, fees, if the player's interested. And I feel like it won't be the first time that we'll be discussing players with representatives before we then hold those official talks with clubs. Now, maybe tomorrow I'll discuss the reports surrounding Maximilian Bayer of Hoffenheim. Again, I'm not surprised that he came up when I discussed like these giant profile of forwards that big clubs want now. I mentioned Bayer being one of the guys that is part of that family, and I guess it's no surprise that we are now holding talks with Hoffenheim. But to focus on Jonathan David, I think the thing that really puzzles me about this is that even though he's a reliable scorer, I think we already have enough profiles of players that play ball to feet that want to run in behinds. And I think if I'm going to use a shadow striker, if I had to do that, I've got Nkunku, who's one of the best already at that, who can play up front. He can probably offer even more playing in advanced positions. I don't think Jonathan David is needed because we've been reading reports constantly. You've been watching my videos and we've been discussing signing this rangy, like tall, kind of physical, pacey striker that can offer us more of a plan B, a different option that we can turn towards in games to give us a new threat. And I don't think Jonathan David does anything like that. I think Nico's overall game outside the box is probably better. And again, with striker news, I just see Nico Jackson as the ultimate winner in stories like this because I hopefully think that he'll take advantage of another season and hopefully by next season, he'll be even more complete. And I think he's on that trajectory. But when I look at our approaches for other forwards, I just think to myself, my lords, I don't see how sideways moves help the team because most of these players are all talented, they're all good. But are they players that are necessarily better than what we have, that are offering something different? Absolutely not. And I just think to myself, when you were hoping to try and scheme up 50 mil for Armando Broja, you didn't just pull that figure out your behind for no reason. You pulled that figure out because you knew at the market, it was probably a good chance clubs would pay that amount of money. We were getting bids of around 35 million plus with add-ons for Armando Broja, for God's sake. Right now, you'll be lucky to get like 20 to 25 mil. Is there any shame in just keeping a kid that you once had high valuations and estimations for, and then use him? Let him have another season. If it wasn't for injuries, after the ACL injury this kid had, you need a full year just to come back to things. Did we do enough to put our arms around him to get him back? I don't think so. Would it hurt us to use him again, at least until the January window, just to assess options? I don't think so. And I just feel like the scattergun approach where there's no real confidence behind what the real player move is, it's starting to become a very disappointing aspect of this summer window because all these high expectations, demands, and ambition is clearly now a fugazi. It's clearly a lie, and it's not the reality right now. So honestly, I'm just looking at what's left in the market and I'm thinking, who is there to really sign outside of maybe defensive options right now? Personally, outside of them, I'm waiting for better options and I'm not going to force moves to players where there's a bigger probability that they don't work out right. So I don't know, man. I've not been inspired by these reports or what's coming out right now. You guys, please share your thoughts and opinions. Maybe I'm just being too cynical. Maybe I'm still feeling jaded by this Odyssey news. I really don't know, but I'm sorry. I'm going to keep it real. I'm not feeling inspired by what's happening right now. And I think it's pretty disappointing, to be honest with you. And it's not giving master plan or master vision. It's kind of giving mid-table. So my friends, share your thoughts and opinions. Hit that like button. And I'll see you guys soon with some more videos. Cool.